Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome at this press conference following the Foreign Affairs Council, which just concluded. We apologize for the delay. We have High Representative Federica Mogherini with us, who will make a few introductory remarks, and then we'll take your questions. High Representative, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you very much. I apologize for being late. That was not out of major divisions or discussions, but out of real in-depth conversation on all the points that we had on the agenda with all the ministers, concentrating on the two main political issues that we decided to have on the agenda today, which is on one side Ukraine, and on the other side the Middle East peace process. But we also touched upon other issues to which I will come afterwards. First of all, we started the morning with an informal session on working methods, and we've started working on some changes that we will introduce already from next time. A little bit more of informal exchanges, so in a more open format with the ministers and with guests. And in general, Foreign Affairs Council more concentrated on political messages and decisions to orientate our common action. So concentrating more on what we can do rather than on analyzing only the issues and the conflicts, and not only concentrating on conflict areas, but also on mid-term and long-term strategies for the European Union work. Coming to Ukraine, I guess you've seen already the conclusions we have adopted. The agreement among us is to define our action along three lines. On one side, obviously, a major European Union role, as this is clearly a European crisis, concentrated on avoiding that the situation gets even worse from a military point of view, from a social or economic point of view, and from the humanitarian point of view in the East. We will develop our work, especially together with the OSCE on the security level, but also with other regional organizations like the Council of Europe when it comes to internal reforms, for instance, of the Constitution with the Venice Commission. But the main discussion today was how to relaunch or how to re-engage in a dialogue, given that Russia is for sure part of the problem, but is also for sure part of the solution, of the possible solution to the crisis. How to engage with Russia in a dialogue between Kiev and Moscow, between Kiev and the east of Ukraine, between European Union and Russia, not only on Ukraine, but also on a wide series of elements, global, regional issues. And this is going to be one of the issues on which we will go more in depth in the coming months to reassess our overall relation with Russia. So one line, major EU political role on the way to find effective means to have a political solution to the crisis, engaging with the dialogue with Russia. Second, the instrument that we have used so far in our policy, not a policy in itself, but an instrument, the economic pressure with sanctions that are an effective tool in a broader strategy. And in this view, we decided today additional listings of individuals, as you have seen, and that will take place with a decision in the next 2 weeks. And third element of the discussion of the action we're going to take is concerning the internal Ukrainian reform path. On one side, asking for the political forces to come with a government, with a coalition government, as soon as possible. We are planning a series of visits, both some of the ministers, one commissioner, actually vice president of the commission was already there last week, Another commissioner is going to visit soon, Commissioner Hahn. I will pay a visit to Kiev as soon as the new government is formed. And I discussed that with Foreign Minister Klimkin in a bilateral meeting we had this morning before starting the Foreign Affairs Council. We also had the chance of signing, and actually it was my first act of signing in my new capacity, the status of mission agreement for the EU advisory mission on civilian security sector reform that will start so officially from December 1st as a clear sign of EU engagement to assist on the reforms. But apart from forming a government soon, we also made clear that we asked the new government to commit to reforms internally, as this is crucial to guarantee that the European Union support and assistance is there. And we strongly believe that this combination of three elements, attempt to have a political engagement, economic pressure with sanctions, and support and ask for a commitment on the Ukrainian side on internal reforms, could hopefully lead the way to some positive developments that at the moment are not definitely there. We then had an in-depth discussion on Middle East with some orientation for the future work as well. I reported from my visit in Gaza, West Bank, Jerusalem, and Tel Aviv, and Jordan, and of my contacts in the last days, most of all with John Kerry and with the actors in the region. And we decided that we definitely cannot just wait and see. Running of time is an element of desperation in the area that could be extremely dangerous, also for security reasons for Europe. And we decided to support new initiatives to relaunch a peace process. The lack of peace process at the moment is one of the causes of violence coming back, and to coordinate on the UN Security Council process on the Middle East, and in particular on the initiatives to relaunch the process. We will build on the possibility of having a regional framework, so working not only with the US, and not only, obviously, with the other, among all us Europeans, and in the UN Security Council, but also with some of the key Arab countries that in the region can facilitate the restarting of the process, in particular Jordan, Egypt, and Saudi Arabia, that initiated in 2002 the Arab Peace Initiative that could be somehow a basis for rethinking of a regional framework. We then passed to Ebola. We had a briefing from Commissioner Christos Stylianides that just came back yesterday from the countries most affected, reported his work in coordinating the efforts of the European Union to face the epidemic. We will come back on that more consistently in December at the Development Foreign Affairs Council, and the Foreign Affairs Council also preparing the European Council of December that will take an assessment of the work done so far. Because among the working methods that we need to change is also better coordination between the different levels and formats of the European Council. Make sure that the previous ones managed to step in forming the agenda and the decisions of the European Council in itself. We had then a long discussion on, a long and good discussion on the Balkans and on Bosnia-Herzegovina, starting from initiatives that some of the member states were proposing and suggesting in the last months, the last of which was a German, UK initiative, but Croatia or Slovenia were suggesting similar things in the last months, trying to take advantage of the fact that just today the presidency was inaugurated. We have a new commission here, so without touching on any of the basic principles of our negotiations, still we believe that there might be a chance for opening a process on new basis without touching the conditionality, obviously, and without lowering the bar in any case. And there was, in this sense, an agreement by the member states that we should proceed in the coming days on that direction to Sarajevo. And we had also a point on Libya, sharing the need for continuous support to, even in extremely difficult conditions, to the work that the UN Secretary General Special Envoy Bernardino Leon is trying still to work on, to facilitate an internal dialogue so that we could get to one government ruling one country. So no military option and no division of Libya. I thank you very much. I'm sorry I was not only late but also long, but I'm ready to answer to your questions.
Bonjour, Jean-Pierre Stroban du journal Le Monde. Deux
Jean-Pierre
questions, si vous permettez. Les conclusions sur l'Ukraine sont ce qu'elles sont. Elles restent assez floues sur la reprise du dialogue. Comment envisagez-vous cette reprise du dialogue? Est-ce que vous envisagez éventuellement un voyage à Moscou? Deuxième question, à propos du Moyen-Orient. La presse israélienne évoque depuis quelques jours l'hypothèse d'un plan de sanctions européen contre Israël. Est-ce que ce plan existe, oui ou non, et que comporte-t-il?
Non, il n'y a pas de plan de ce type. J'ai vu un article de Haaretz, je pense qu'il y a 2 jours. Il fait référence à un document de travail que j'ai vu, publié par Haaretz, qui est apparemment un document de travail interne, demandé par les États membres il y a quelques temps, je dirais dans le mandat qui a précédé le mien, mais qui ne forme qu'une hypothèse de travail technique. Ce n'était pas sur la table des ministres aujourd'hui. Ce n'était pas du tout le cœur de notre discussion aujourd'hui. Le cœur de notre discussion aujourd'hui sur le Moyen-Orient était plutôt comment engager un processus positif avec les Israéliens et avec les Palestiniens pour relancer un processus de paix. Pas du tout une question d'isoler, de sanctionner personne, mais au contraire de remotiver sur le chemin du dialogue. Si un programme d'aller à Moscou, le point a été soulevé aujourd'hui pendant la discussion. Plusieurs ministres m'ont demandé de le faire. Je prends comme un signal positif d'envie d'ouvrir un parcours de dialogue qui, d'autre part, n'a jamais été fermé. Je me souviens dans un autre rôle, dans une autre capacité, d'avoir participé à Milan à une rencontre à laquelle a participé pas seulement des chefs d'État et de gouvernement, mais aussi le président de la Commission européenne et le président du Conseil. Le lien, l'ouverture au dialogue entre la Fédération russe et l'Union européenne en tête et telle était déjà ouvert. Et je pense que ça va être utile. Et d'autre part, à Petit-Ben, Juncker a rencontré Poutine lui-même. Je pense qu'il faudra pas seulement se parler, mais surtout savoir bien sur quoi on se parle et pourquoi on se parle. Discuter bien l'agenda, préparer bien éventuellement la visite, et pas seulement aller pour visiter, mais aller s'il y a des conditions réelles pour une discussion politique qui peut s'amener à quelques pas positifs sur l'Ukraine et aussi peut-être quelques pas positifs sur des autres dossiers qu'on partage en tant que préoccupation majeure pour la région.
Adrian Croft from Reuters. Hi, Representative. Do you think that there will be a discussion of imposing further economic sanctions on Russia at the European Council in December? One point. And second point on the Middle East peace process, there's a mention in the conclusions about the EU to ensure full implementation of existing EU legislation applicable to settlement products. Does that mean that you're going to push forward with implementing the rules on labelling of settlement products? Thanks.
If you allow me, we are here to comment on a Foreign Affairs Council that just concluded with conclusions. And that's fine, and that's very good for me to brief you on that and to receive your questions. on the other side, commenting on eventual conclusions of a European Council that is about to come in more than 1 month would be a little bit beyond my capacities and my possibilities. I do not expect that today we can think of something like that. On the Middle East peace process, it means that we will continue to implement the policies that were agreed on. But as I explained, the core of our worries and of our efforts is and will be not to react to negative steps, but to engage in positive processes. And the worrying situation is that the less we have political positive processes, the more we risk to have negative steps on the ground. So we have to break this vicious circle with some positive elements that at the moment are desperately lacking.
Nicolas, and then ORF, then unfortunately the Georgian delegation is waiting for us. We'll really have to conclude, but we'll be back in about an hour and a half.
Nicolas Gros-Verret de Bruxelles 2, Ouest France. Une question sur le Moyen-Orient, s'il vous plaît, en 2 points. Dans les conclusions, il mentionnait que vous êtes prêt à déployer assez vite des missions européennes aux frontières, EUBAM Rafah, EUPOL COPS. Dans combien de temps vous seriez prêt à le disposer? Et apparemment, il y a des éléments qui bloquent. Quels sont les éléments qui bloquent? Qu'est-ce que vous attendez pour le redéployer? Sur la reconnaissance, je sais bien que ce n'était pas automatiquement l'objet du essentiel du sujet aujourd'hui, mais au moins un État apparemment dans un Parlement national estime que la reconnaissance devrait se faire dans un cadre européen. Quel pourrait être ce cadre européen de la reconnaissance d'un État palestinien?
On a commencé à discuter de ça, même si c'est bien sûr la compétence des États membres. Au moins sur ça, la responsabilité, ce n'est pas la mienne. Mais c'est vrai qu'on a partagé la nécessité de au moins échanger entre nous, entre les ministres, avec notre coordination, les informations sur les initiatives et démarches des parlements nationaux, les éléments de réaction des gouvernements à ce sujet, et commencer à donner pas de réponse commune, mais quand même partager les grandes lignes d'action sur ce sujet-là. Sur les missions EUBAM et EUCOPS que j'ai visitées quand j'étais dans la région il y a une semaine, il n'y a pas une question de temps. Je dirais même pas de ressources, parce que je pense que sur ce domaine-là, les États membres seraient bien prêts à donner les ressources humaines et financières qu'il faut. Là, le problème principal, ce sont les conditions politiques sur le terrain, c'est-à-dire il faut que le contrôle des crossings, ça comment en français?
Crossing checks.
Oui, des points de passage doit être fait en coopération avec l'autorité palestinienne. Et c'est ça le point. Dès qu'on n'a pas l'autorité palestinienne sur place capable de controler les crossings, les passages, ce serait difficile pour une mission européenne de travailler sur le terrain. Alors c'est ça, même dans mes conversations, soit en Israël, soit avec les Palestiniens, c'est ça les points les plus délicats. Avoir les conditions sur place, politiques, même avant que de sécurité, pour que ça puisse se passer avec un interlocuteur légitime, crédible et efficace sur le terrain à Gaza.
Raymond Löw is Austrian Radio and Television. I would like to come back to the question on the recognition of the state of Palestinian state that was decided by Sweden. There's been a similar decision in the UK. Many discussions like that in different member states. What's your opinion of this kind of action? Do you think it's counterproductive? What is your personal opinion? And then a second question, you said the idea was to get a new impetus for dialogue with Russia. Well, I think the German Chancellor has discussed 4 hours with Vladimir Putin in Brisbane. I mean, what could be the next steps to get any to get further on with dialogue that have not been done up to now? Thanks.
That's why I say that before deciding if it's useful to go to Russia. For me, we need, first of all, I would need physically and psychologically to prepare, definitely. No, but apart from that, we need, in case, to check if the conditions are there for the meeting to be fruitful and to prepare, obviously, that kind of meeting. But the decision has not been taken yet. It was an element for discussion that was raised by some ministers, quite many ministers, and that I accepted as a possibility to explore. In particular, after a further discussion among the member states in the next, probably in the next meeting or a few meetings of the Foreign Affairs Council on the overall strategic relation between the EU and Russia, not only on Ukraine, but also on several other issues. On the recognition of the Palestinian state, I have stated already several times, including in Israel and in Palestine, that to me the real point is not so much the recognition of a Palestinian state, but what can we usefully do to have a Palestinian state? Because you can have the recognition in several member states without things changing radically and dramatically on the ground. What we need to do, or on the contrary, you could have a wave of pressure that could lead to some positive result or not, depending on the kind of process that is open or not. So again, I think our main focus should be, and as a European focus for sure, because this does not lie in the European Union capacity to recognize a state, so it's for member states to take decisions, but to me the main focus is what kind of steps forward we can put in place for getting to having a Palestinian state living next to an Israeli state in peace and security. What is the roadmap of political actions that we managed to put in place for reaching the objective? The objective is not the recognition of the Palestinian state. The objective is the Palestinian state. And we should not, I think, confond, no, that's French, I'm sorry. We should not mix the two levels. But this is a discussion that for sure will be ongoing also in the format of the ministerials meeting. Because, as I said, it's a matter of national decisions, but we decided that also on that, as it is a matter that concerns us all, we will try to share visions and coordinate a bit already from now. Thank you very much. I apologize again for being late and being so shortly with you, but I'll be back in an hour on a different topic. Thanks a lot. Bye.